Hey everybody, it's Matt Cannizzo, Solutions Architect over here at Aptitude 8. And in this video, we're going to be reviewing how to activate your product data in HubSpot 101. Today, we'll run through a sample company who has a product-led growth strategy. They're going to be a SaaS middleware product company with roughly 50 employees. And their main focus today is to integrate that product data so that they can tailor their free trial communications based on behaviors a user takes, as well as power the customer success team with usage insights. Let's talk about the product data that this company cares about. So when we think about product data, usually there are two large buckets that we distinguish between. The first is behaviors on the left-hand side, and the second is usage on the right-hand side. So an example of a behavior that they care about would be a free trial sign-up or whether or not they've completed their account. From a usage perspective, they care about how many times someone's logged in or how many logins total or how many users or apps were created using their product. So the next thing I want to talk about is how this product data fits into their HubSpot data model. So this part's pretty straightforward, right? We have at a basic level, we need to connect the behaviors with the person. So the CBE up top here is the custom behavioral event that we can distinguish between type, and that's going to relate back to a contact. And then what we have to capture usage data is the app account. So the account that the user created, either in a free trial or on an active subscription. And we see that there are a few different ways that a contact can relate to an app account, just because you can belong to many app accounts. And what we're seeing here is a few examples of the usage metrics that we care about. And so that's really how we think about product behavior in the context of this sample company. And what a custom behavioral event inside of HubSpot allows us to do is define a behavior by naming it, by including a bunch of different custom properties, as well as standard properties that come with the event itself, and essentially drop in a code snippet into our product or into our web experience or something else. And when that fires, we'll log that behavior against the contact, in this case, for example, in HubSpot, so that we can do a whole bunch of stuff with it, right? And we'll talk about what we'll do with it. So that's where your custom behavioral events live and what they sort of look like. When you talk about capturing account information, such as usage metrics, we're going to actually use the app accounts object. And so what we're seeing on my screen right now are all of the properties that we've discussed in our diagram prior. So we see number of logins, unique logins, number of users, non-related usage metrics, but important and critical to the app account, right? Which are tier and their admin email and primary account contact, so on and so forth. So these are the basics of how to represent each different type of information. So now that we have our custom behavioral events and our usage metrics configured inside of HubSpot, they're reflected in our data model. Let's talk about how we can activate that data in various parts of our business, right? And so the first thing I want to show you is a free trial nurture, which is triggered off of a free trial sign-up form. And so as soon as this happens, what we're going to do is we're going to send them a series of emails saying, thanks for joining. Here's how you get the most of the product. Here's how others like you are using the product. And our goal here is to say, as soon as you complete the setup of your account, we're actually going to disenroll you or unenroll you from this workflow. And we're going to send you down a different workflow with a different set of communications that say, congratulations, you set up your account. Here are the things that you need to know in order to sort of move forward. And this is what we're seeing in this workflow on the screen right now. The last thing that I've done is I've created a free trial score. And this free trial score essentially calculates and assigns positive points towards the number of custom behavioral events that we're tracking for a specific contact. And we're saying essentially after you are greater than a score of 8, then what we're going to do is we're going to surface you as a hot lead to the customer success team so they can intervene and help convert that subscription. And that's really the long and short of how we can activate data in a very basic and simple way. So now that we've integrated our data from our warehouse to HubSpot, we can take a look at what it looks like in our portal. So what we're looking at on screen right now is a contact record. And we see in the bottom left-hand corner here, their free trial score, their free trial start and end date. And we see in the middle pane a number of different custom behavioral events, right? So at the very bottom, we see that there was a free trial sign-up. They created an app. They integrated their CRM, and they've also filled out essentially another app and integrated another CRM. So this is really good news, right? This is almost at the threshold of 8, which would surface them as a hot lead to the customer success team. So it's sort of really easy to sort of navigate and understand what's the information happens on the custom behavioral event on the contact record. And then another area where we can make use of for marketing purposes is create lists of these people who are filling out different custom behavioral events, right? We've created a list for each different custom behavioral event type. And when we click into each, we can see who's done this action, who's completed this essentially. And then we can use this in other email marketing campaigns and automation and lists reporting. So another way that you can sort of leverage this information once it's inside of HubSpot. The next thing I want to talk about is usage metrics, right? How does that look as soon as you sync that data in from your warehouse using HighTouch? So I'm going to pick on this 123 partnership app account. And on the left-hand side, we see a number of different details about their subscription and their app account, right? So we see that their subscription tier is enterprise. We see that Ryan Gunn is the primary contact and that therefore his email. We see their account has 5 users, 3 unique logins, a ton of different logins, and a ton of different apps created. And we see in the upper right-hand corner here, Ryan associated to this app account as the primary contact. So there's a ton of information here that we can do a lot with, and it really will start to inform our reporting and other processes for our customer success team once this is in here. If there's information that's missing, right, that's a point of value that we can add to the customer. If there's a point where the customer is sort of blowing you out of the water from a metric perspective, you should know about it. And you should maybe potentially ask them for a case study or to sort of advocate for your brand on social media or whatnot. But none of that's possible unless you define the product data that you care about and have a plan to sort of get it into HubSpot. And so this is sort of the long and short of how you can do that with HubSpot in a relatively quick timeframe.